Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Have you ever really stopped to think about the ripple effect? Like how a single, completely unexpected message could just change things?
It's a fascinating thought experiment, isn't it?
Totally. Imagine getting a letter, maybe it's even in a language you're just starting to get the hang of, and it's from someone you've never heard of.
Right.
And suddenly your world just starts to shift, starts to reshape itself. How could one small act, like reaching out, spark this whole chain reaction? Connection, opportunity, stuff you couldn't even have dreamed of.
It sounds almost like something out of a story.
Well, that's exactly it. Okay, so let's really unpack this today. For this deep dive, we're doing something a bit different. We're stepping away from the usual research papers or articles.
Hmm.
Instead, we're diving into this really remarkable and honestly pretty heartwarming narrative. Our source material isn't a study, it's a story called A Letter from Afar.
A single story, but packed with insight.
Exactly. It follows this young student, Sami, and the surprising power that a shared language unlocks for him. On the surface, yeah, maybe it seems simple.
But the depth's there.
Oh, yeah. Incredible insights about learning, connection, all those unexpected paths life throws at you.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is just how much we can actually pull from this seemingly straightforward story.
Mm.
Our mission today, really, is to distill those profound insights.
Mhm.
We're going to try and uncover how mastering a language, it's not just about, memorizing grammar rules or filling up vocabulary lists. It's so much more.
It really is.
Fundamentally, it's about building bridges, real, genuine bridges between people, fostering that human connection, even across huge distances. And maybe the most exciting part, unlocking this whole world of possibilities you might never have even thought about.
Opportunities popping up unexpectedly.
Precisely. So we're going to dig into the why and the how of that linguistic connection. What does this kind of journey mean for anyone who's, learning something new? A
Mhm.
language, a skill, anything really.
That's such a crucial distinction, making it about more than just the mechanics. Because, like you said, this isn't just Sammy's story from A Letter from Afar. It acts like a mirror, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Reflects our own experiences.
Yeah. For anyone who's ever felt that hesitation, that maybe fear when starting something new, or wondered, is this effort actually going to pay off? Is it going to have a real impact?
The tangible results.
Exactly. That feeling when dedication finally leads to something unexpected. So as we start digging into Sammy's world, what jumps out at you right away? What's that first thing that grabs your attention?
Okay, so the story kicks off on what seems like a totally normal day. A quiet Thursday afternoon in Bangladesh. We meet Sami, our main character.
Just going about his routine?
Completely. He's walking home, probably thinking about school. He's just come from his English club, and they apparently played word bingo, which, already gives us a little hint that he's engaged with English, at least in that setting.
Part of his school life. Right. And he's whistling a tune. The story mentions it's a song they performed recently on stage. So he's participating, maybe gaining a bit of confidence.
Active involvement.
Yeah, it paints this picture of like normal teenage life, contentment, routine. English is part of his world, but it feels contained, within school, the club, his local environment.
Very much so. Comfortable, predictable.
Exactly. Just this snapshot of calm before everything changes. He has absolutely no idea what's about to happen, how his whole view of English and maybe the world is about to get completely shaken up.
The calm before the storm, so to speak, but a positive storm.
A very positive storm. And then, bam, the discovery, this stark white envelope. It's just sitting there on the table, and it's got his name on it, Sami.
Stands out immediately.
Totally. But the detail that really throws him, the one that causes this immediate confusion, is the return address. It clearly says, from abroad.
Abroad. That's a big concept.
Huge. Especially when you don't expect it. His mom apparently just says, this came today, it's from abroad. And Sammy's reaction is just pure disbelief. He blinks, tries to process it.
Like, wait, what?
Exactly. He blurts out, abroad, but I don't know anyone there. You can just feel the disconnect. His current reality versus this completely unexpected message from, somewhere else entirely.
It highlights how separate his world felt from the abroad.
Perfectly. It's this great setup showing just how improbable this whole thing seems to him, like the universe just dropped a message in his lap he wasn't remotely expecting.
A message that required English to even be opened and understood.
Right. So he opens it, and inside, the letter isn't in Bengali, it's in English. Clear, neat handwriting. And it starts right off. Dear Sami, my name is Daniel, I'm 14, and I live in Kenya.
Wow. Kenya. So instantly, continents apart.
Thousands of miles, Bangladesh to Kenya, but then comes the connection, the piece that makes it make sense, sort of. Daniel explains his cousin visited Sammy's school.
The cultural exchange program.
Exactly. That cousin went back to Kenya and told Daniel about Sammy, specifically about Sammy giving this really inspiring speech in English.
Inspiring, even though Sammy himself felt scared.
Apparently so. Daniel writes that he heard Sammy gave the speech despite his own fear of speaking. And that resonated with Daniel. He writes, I was scared to speak English before too.
Shared vulnerability right there.
Totally. And then the invitation. But after hearing about you, I wanted to write to you. Maybe we can be pen pals. Simple, direct, born from this shared feeling and this unexpected connection across an ocean.
Incredible. Just incredible how one small act could travel so far.
I know. I try to put myself in Sammy's shoes at that exact moment, what's going through his head.
Must have been a whirlwind.
Absolutely. Shock, definitely, but also exhilaration, validation. The story says his heart races. He thinks, wait, me. He's talking about me.
That moment of realization.
Yeah, it's this huge confirmation that his effort, getting up there and speaking English, even though he was scared, it actually mattered. It had a real impact way beyond his school.
Beyond the auditorium walls.
Miles beyond. It's like this external proof that transforms his internal struggle.
Yeah.
His personal win suddenly becomes this thing that influenced someone else, someone on a different continent.
That's incredibly powerful for a young learner.
It really is. It's the moment his world, which felt maybe small before, just suddenly bursts open, redefines everything,
Mm-hmm. And this really brings up such an important question, doesn't it? What is the psychological impact of getting that kind of message?
Yeah.
So unexpected, so personal, across such a vast distance.
Right. It's not just a letter.
Not at all. For Sammy, it's a profound revelation. It validates his English skills in a way, a classroom grade probably never could, or even a teacher saying good job.
It's different. It's real world.
Exactly. It tells him his voice using this language he's still learning, actually mattered to someone else, someone he's never met. That's a massive boost for what we call self-efficacy.
That belief in yourself.
Precisely. That deep feeling that you can do things. Think about when you try something hard, something you weren't sure about, and you actually pull it off.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
Right. And that success makes you think, okay, maybe I can tackle that next, even bigger challenge. For Sammy, this letter flips the script. What might have felt like a weakness or just a scary skill becomes a source of connection, influence even.
It shows that serendipity thing you mentioned too.
Absolutely. That beautiful, unplanned connection happening almost entirely because they had this shared language, English, as the medium. Sammy's small act of courage giving that speech ripples outwards in a way he could never have predicted. An unforeseen consequence landing right back on his doorstep, changing everything for him.
Wow.
And this moment right here, this is Sammy's first huge aha moment. Think about it.
Yeah.
Before this letter, English was probably, well, just another subject.
Homework. Tests.
Yeah, maybe important for the future, sure, but still abstract, confined to the classroom. Now, suddenly it transforms. It's not just a subject anymore. It's a real tool.
A tool for connection.
A tangible, living tool for international connection. It stops being about passing tests and starts being about making friends. Across continents.
That's a massive shift in perspective.
It's critical for his journey. It injects his learning with this immediate personal purpose. It moves way beyond just memorizing things into, real-world use, real emotional meaning.
The abstract becomes concrete.
Perfectly put. The theoretical becomes deeply personal. And that sets the stage for him to be way more engaged, way more motivated. It turns learning from an obligation into this incredible opportunity.
That single letter really did crack his world wide open, feeling that validation is one thing, but then he had to decide whether to write back right.
The next step.
So what did that first reply, taking that step, tell us about how his view of English was changing? This is where that bridge idea really starts to take shape, isn't it? You can just imagine Sammy buzzing with excitement. He must have been practically vibrating.
Bursting to tell someone.
Totally. He runs straight to Lena, his friend from the English club, and he's probably breathless, right? Lena, a boy from another country, wrote to me in English.
The emphasis on in English is key there.
Absolutely. It wasn't just that someone wrote, but how. Using the very language they were both working so hard on, it was like proof, real, tangible proof that their efforts mattered outside the classroom walls.
Connecting them to something much bigger.
Yeah, like a little piece of the global puzzle had just landed right in his hands and made the world feel suddenly accessible.
And Lena gets it immediately.
Oh, instantly. She's sharp. Her reaction wasn't just, wow, cool, it was deeper. She apparently grinned, kind of knowingly, and said something like, wow, that's amazing. English isn't just a school subject for you anymore, it's your bridge to the world.
Boom. There it is. The core theme.
Exactly. That wasn't just a casual comment. For Sammy, that was a light bulb moment. It locked in this new way of thinking. English wasn't just, something you learn in school. It was the way you get out of just school, explore beyond.
A vehicle, not just a destination.
Perfectly said. The weight of her words just shifted his whole understanding, gave his learning this huge, grand purpose, a bridge, not just a path, but a real structure connecting him to somewhere new, making the impossible feel possible.
And Lena's insight there, calling it a bridge language, really nails the concept of English as a lingua franca. It begs the question, though, why English? Why does it so often play this role globally?
Yeah, that's a good question. History plays a part, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't ignore history, British colonialism, then American economic and cultural dominance later on. That definitely spread the language.
Sure. Business, science.
Right. It became the language of international business, technology, science, diplomacy. Pop culture, too, increasingly. But it's not just history. There are practical aspects.
Like what?
Well, compared to some languages, its grammar is relatively simpler, structurally speaking. Its vocabulary is huge, borrowing from Latin, German, French, you name it. Plus, think about the sheer amount of stuff available in English online.
Everything from research papers to cat videos.
Exactly. So this widespread use means it acts like common ground, a neutral space where people from totally different language backgrounds can actually meet and communicate.
Like Sami in Bangladesh and Daniel in Kenya?
Precisely. They speak Bengali, maybe Swahili or another Kenyan language. English becomes the most practical, often the only, way for them to connect directly. It just breaks down barriers that would otherwise be huge.
Fostering that understanding.
Yes, and collaboration too. It's remarkable, really. Other languages have done this historically, of course, Latin, Arabic, French, in diplomacy for a time.
Sure.
But the global reach of English right now is kind of unprecedented. It shows how a language can start as maybe a practical necessity, but then blossoms into real human connection, real cultural exchange.
So Sammy's feeling motivated by all this new understanding, this amazing connection. He sits down to write back to Daniel.
The crucial first reply.
And the story says he wrote slowly and carefully, which tells you a lot, right? It wasn't just dashed off. It was sincere, deliberate. He knew this was important.
His first real act of cross-cultural communication.
Yeah. And his message was simple, but really effective. Something like, Dear Daniel, I am so happy to receive your letter. He shares his own experience, too. At first, I was afraid of English, too, but I learned step by step, and now I help others.
Showing empathy, shared struggle.
Exactly. And then the invitation, thank you for writing to me. Let's be friends and learn together. It just sets this wonderful tone right from the start. Mutual support, learning together, real friendship.
The perfect foundation.
And it wasn't just a one-off. The story makes a point of saying, weeks passed, more letters came.
Consistency. The bond deepens.
Right. It became this regular thing, something they both looked forward to.
Yeah.
And the letters got more personal. They weren't just introducing themselves anymore.
Sharing daily life stuff.
Yeah. Like games they played, maybe Sammy talked about cricket, Daniel about football, or local games we wouldn't even know. Favorite foods, instant cultural insight right there.
Food is always a great connector.
Isn't it? But the best part, maybe the most important part for their bond and their learning, was sharing their funny English mistakes.
Ah, the blunders. That's where the magic happens.
Totally. Instead of being embarrassed, they turned them into jokes, into connection points.
Building trust and lowering the stakes.
Exactly. The story gives us a couple of great examples. Daniel apparently wrote about telling his teacher, I am boring, when he meant I am bored.
Oh, classic.
Yeah.
So relatable for learners. That slight difference changes everything.
I know, right? We've probably all made mistakes like that. And Sammy shared his own gem. Haha. I once said, I want a hug instead of I want a hot dog.
Haha. That's brilliant. Easy mistake to make with similar sounds, but hilarious outcome.
Imagine asking the food vendor for a hug. It just highlights those tricky bits of pronunciation or word choice, but in a lighthearted way. Makes the whole learning process feel more human, less intimidating.
And this, what's truly fascinating here, is the power of that shared vulnerability and humor. Why do these mistakes, which could easily cause shame in a classroom, become connection points instead?
Good question. What do you think?
Well, first, by admitting their slip-ups, They create this incredibly safe space for each other. It's like saying, hey, it's okay not to be perfect. I mess up too. We can laugh about it.
Takes the pressure off.
Massively. It lowers what linguists call the affective filter, that mental block caused by anxiety or self-consciousness that stops learners from taking risks from speaking.
Makes sense.
And second, humor is just, well, it's a universal bonding agent, isn't it?
Yeah.
Laughing together, especially when the language itself is the source of the joke, creates this really strong connection.
Laughing across thousands of miles.
Exactly. When they chuckled about, I am boring or I want a hug, they weren't just laughing at words. They were celebrating their shared journey, their ability to connect despite the imperfections. It builds resilience, makes learning fun.
Which probably makes them learn faster, too.
Oh, significantly faster than in many formal settings. Think about a typical classroom. Mistakes can feel like failures, things to avoid. So you hesitate, you don't practice as much.
Right, you clam up.
But here, mistakes are anecdotes. They're learning moments. They're inside jokes. It flips the script entirely. Stumbling blocks become stepping stones.
And they have a real reason to learn.
That's the key. Intrinsic motivation. They want to understand each other, share their lives. That's way more powerful than just wanting a good grade. It's joyful, effective learning.
That idea of laughter across thousands of miles is so good. It really shows how language, even imperfect English, builds that deep human connection, erasing the distance.
It's not just about vocabulary lists anymore. It's about shared experience, mutual understanding, warmth.
Yeah.
Language becomes this living, breathing thing for them, a vehicle for friendship, for community.
Wow. So the pen pal thing, sparked by that one letter, it really changed Sammy's whole perspective, turbocharged his learning. But the story doesn't stop there, does it?
No, the ripple effect keeps spreading.
Because Lena, seeing all this happen, she gets an even bigger idea. It wasn't just going to be about Sami and Daniel anymore. How did that ripple start to expand to the whole community? So Lena sees Sami just blossoming, right? This letter from Daniel hasn't just made him happy, it's lit a fire under his English learning.
She notices the transformation.
Exactly. And she doesn't just say, that's great for you, Sami. She immediately thinks bigger. Her suggestion is kind of brilliant in its simplicity. What if our whole English club got pen pals?
Taking it from one success story to a potential program.
Precisely. It's recognizing that Sami's amazing experience wasn't necessarily unique to him. It was the situation, the connection that was powerful, and that could be replicated.
Scalable, you could say.
Yeah, it turns his personal lucky break into a template for everyone else in the club, multiplying the benefits, spreading that excitement, that effective way of learning, moving from just inspiration to real action.
And she didn't just float the idea, did she?
No way. Lena seems like a doer. The story says they didn't just wish for it. They actually wrote to the principal.
Taking initiative. Going through the proper channels.
Right, which takes courage, too, approaching the school leadership with a new idea like that. And crucially, the principal was supportive. He helped them contact a school in Kenya.
Institutional buy-in. That's often key to making things happen on a larger scale.
Definitely. It shows how student passion, when combined with supportive educators, can really make things happen. It wasn't just Sami and Daniel anymore. It became a school-to-school connection.
Transforming the English club's entire purpose, really.
Totally. It became this hub for, grassroots international relations, all driven by kids wanting to learn English and connect.
And the result was pretty immediate, wasn't it?
Yeah, the impact on the club was huge. The story says, soon, every member of the English club was exchanging letters in simple English with students from another continent.
Every member. That's significant.
It really is. Not just the keen ones, everyone. It created this collective buzz, this shared project. Imagine the excitement in that club room when letters arrived from Kenya.
Sharing stories, comparing notes about their pen pals.
Exactly. It basically democratized Sami's experience, made the whole world feel a bit smaller, a bit more reachable for all of them. And they were all using English for something real.
Not just practicing for a test.
Right. They were building friendships, learning about different lives, expanding their own worlds, just by writing simple letters.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture of language learning, that kind of authentic practice is just invaluable.
How so?
Well, when you have a real audience,
Yeah.
someone who actually wants to understand what you're saying, and a real purpose, sharing your life, asking questions, building a friendship, it completely changes the game.
Takes it out of the textbook.
Way out. It makes English a living tool, not just an abstract subject. The motivation becomes intrinsic. You want to communicate, you want to understand. That desire is a much more powerful driver for learning than, say, fear of a bad grade.
Or just pleasing the teacher.
Exactly. The stakes feel personal, but in a good way. The reward isn't a mark. It's human connection. It's discovery. They're not just learning about English, they're learning through English. About culture, about friendship, about the world.
And that changed the whole vibe in the club, too, didn't it? The way they thought about mistakes, about learning itself.
A crucial shift in mindset.
The story puts it so well. Every mistake became a joke. Every new word became a gift. That's such a powerful reframe.
It really is radical compared to how mistakes are often treated in education.
Right. Usually you try to hide them, you feel embarrassed, but here, because they were all in it together, writing to real people who were also learning, mistakes became funny. Learning opportunities.
Exactly. It disarmed the fear, turned potential shame into shared laughter, into connection.
Yeah.
Psychological safety is huge for learning.
And the new word became a gift part. I love that.
Me too. It's not just another item on a list to memorize. It's a new tool, a way to express yourself more clearly, understand your friend better, unlock a deeper level of communication. It makes the process of acquiring vocabulary feel inherently rewarding.
Like finding treasure.
Kind of.
Huh.
It creates this positive cycle.
Mm.
You learn, you connect, you feel good, you want to learn more.
And the result of all this safe space, this real purpose, the fun.
Predictably positive, the story says. And every student, even the shyest ones, started writing more and more.
Even the shy ones. That's telling.
Incredibly telling. It speaks volumes about confidence and motivation. When you remove that pressure to be perfect and replace it with the genuine joy of connecting with someone, even hesitant learners find their voice,
The fear just melts away.
or at least diminishes significantly. The fear of making mistakes, which can be paralyzing, gets overshadowed by the excitement of actually communicating, of building that relationship. It's low-stakes practice with high-reward outcomes.
Fostering that willingness to just try.
Exactly. That's where real fluency starts to build. Consistent, purposeful engagement, driven by meaning, supported by community. It proves that the environment is just as important as the curriculum.
And amidst all this club activity, Sami himself was really taking off, wasn't he? His progress was noticeable.
Yes, his personal journey continued to accelerate. The story mentions his vocabulary grew faster, his grammar got much better.
Which makes sense. He was using it constantly for real reasons.
Constant, meaningful application. He wasn't just studying English, he was living it, driven by that desire to connect with Daniel. But the really big breakthrough for him personally.
The translation thing.
Yes, he stopped translating from Bengali to English in his head. That's a major milestone for any language learner, a huge cognitive leap.
What does that actually mean, though, to stop translating in your head?
It means the language is becoming more intuitive, more automatic. Think about it like learning to drive. At first, you're consciously thinking about every single step. Clutch, gear, mirror, signal.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
All right, that's like translating. You're constantly mediating through your native language.
Hmm.
But eventually you just drive. You think turn left and your body just does it.
Okay, so English became more direct for him.
Exactly. It stopped being this external code he had to consciously process through Bengali. It became a direct channel for his thoughts, his feelings. That frees up so much mental energy.
Makes communication faster, more natural.
Much more spontaneous, efficient, and natural. He wasn't just learning about English anymore. He was starting to think in English. That's a critical step towards real fluency, making the language feel less like a tool and more like part of you.
Wow. So for Sami, this whole journey led to this complete transformation in how he even defined English.
A fundamental redefinition.
It wasn't just a school subject anymore. That label felt totally inadequate. It became, as the story says, a language for friendship, for expression, for dreams.
Beautifully put.
Isn't it? It captures everything: the practical connection, friendship, the personal articulation, expression, and the aspirational possibility, dreams. It shows the true value language can unlock.
Beyond grades, beyond careers even. Huge
Yeah.
value.
Exactly. English became his key to a bigger, richer, more connected life. A future with possibilities he couldn't have seen before. A real testament to learning with purpose.
A profound shift.
So Sami's journey was already pretty amazing, from shy kid to confident club leader, inspiring a whole movement. But the story wasn't quite done, was it? There was one more peak to climb.
The virtual connection.
Right. Bringing the letters to life, face to face, across the digital divide. That was the next logical and incredibly exciting step.
Okay, so the Pen Pal program is thriving, connections are deepening. What happens next feels like the perfect culmination, doesn't it?
The invitation arrives.
Exactly. Daniel's school reaches out and invites Sami's English club for a virtual cultural exchange. This isn't just another letter. This is like leveling up.
Moving from asynchronous letters to real-time interaction. Yeah, it's the next stage in their connection, a really significant step. It shows how much trust and rapport they'd built just through writing. Enough to want to actually meet, even virtually.
A validation of the whole pen pal initiative.
Totally, and it signals this move into direct digital engagement, deepening those bonds even further.
And for Sammy, this wasn't just another club activity, right? He had a specific role.
He did. He was chosen to give a small online speech, representing his club, his friends, maybe even his country in a small way. And you see his dedication shine through.
The practice.
Oh, yeah. The story emphasizes it. He practiced, and practiced more. This wasn't just about not messing up. It felt bigger than that.
Honoring the connection?
I think so. Honoring Daniel, honoring the opportunity for his club. It shows how much English now mattered to him. Not as homework, but as this vital tool for communication, for representing himself and his community on this, like, mini global stage.
He wasn't practicing out of fear anymore necessarily, but out of purpose.
That feels right. A desire to do it well, to communicate sincerely.
And then the moment arrives. The virtual exchange itself.
Months of letters, shared jokes, shared dreams, all leading to this, seeing each other for the first time.
Across screens, but still face to face.
The story describes it so simply but powerfully. On the video call, Sami saw Daniel for the first time. They waved at each other, grinning.
Just that simple wave and grin speaks volumes.
Doesn't it? It collapses the distance instantly. The abstract pen pal becomes this real, smiling person on the screen. The written words suddenly have a face, a presence.
A digital handshake, confirming the humanity behind the letters.
Yeah, just a really profound moment, making it all feel incredibly real.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, the added dimension that visual and auditory connection brings after only having letters.
How do you mean?
Well, moving from just text to seeing someone's face, hearing their voice, catching their expressions, it adds so many layers. Nonverbal cues, tone of voice, things letters can't fully capture.
Makes the connection feel deeper, more immediate.
Absolutely. It enhances empathy, makes the relationship feel even more concrete. And for language learning itself, it's huge. You're getting auditory input, visual cues. It pushes you towards more holistic fluency.
Practicing listening and seeing, not just reading and writing.
Exactly. It completes the communication circle. And it just highlights how these virtual tools really can break down barriers and create these immediate, powerful connections for learners globally.
So, amidst all this connection, Sami has his speech to give.
His moment.
And the lines quoted from it, they just perfectly capture his whole journey and really the essence of this whole deep dive. He starts with that raw honesty.
When I started learning English, I was scared.
Right, so relatable, acknowledging that initial fear. Then he shares that insight about virtual travel. But now I know English can take you to new places, even without leaving your home.
Such a modern truth about connectivity.
Isn't it? Especially relevant now. Then, the heart of it. My friend Daniel and I live far away, but this language brought us close. Simple, powerful truth.
The core message.
And he finishes with just pure gratitude. Thank you, English. It's not just about grammar, it's about what the language enabled. Friendship, connection, overcoming fear.
A testament to the human spirit, really.
And the reaction. Pure positivity, right?
Across the screens. The screen was filled with applause emojis and smiles.
That digital applause, stretching across continents, it's validation not just for Sami, but for everyone involved. Their effort mattered. Their connection was real. Their voices were heard.
A moment of collective triumph. Imagine the pride in both classrooms.
Must have been incredible.
And that speech, its message goes so far beyond just, I learned English. It's about empowerment. It's about conquering fear. It's about using a skill to make a real impact, build real connections.
That travel without leaving home idea, English really does unlock that, doesn't it?
In today's world, absolutely. It's often the main key to accessing global conversations, information, diverse perspectives, friendships, all without needing a passport.
Opening up the world from your room.
Precisely. It fosters empathy, builds bridges in a way that's unique to a truly global lingua franca. Sami's speech just perfectly encapsulates why language learning is about so much more than just the language itself.
It really does. But the story gives us one final moment, a quiet reflection after all the excitement.
Back under the tree.
Yeah. Sami's sitting there looking at the sky, just thinking. And his thought really boils the whole thing down. If I never said hello that first day, none of this would happen.
Wow. the power of that first step.
It's profound, isn't it? Recognizing that this entire life-changing journey hinged on one initial act. Maybe not even writing back to Daniel, but maybe giving that first scary speech.
Could be the first moment of courage.
It's like the butterfly effect of connection. Every huge journey starts with that single, maybe uncertain step. Makes you think about your own life, those small decisions.
It really does, and it raises that final important question, doesn't it? What does Sammy's thought tell us about the ripple effect of our own actions, especially when we're learning something new, something scary?
What's the takeaway there?
I think it powerfully shows that those seemingly small steps, those moments where we act despite our fear or doubt, can have these unexpectedly huge positive outcomes. Sammy's initial hello, whether it was the speech or the reply, was the first domino.
Setting everything else in motion.
Exactly. The speech inspired Daniel, leading to the letter, the pen pals, the virtual exchange, Sammy's transformation. It all traces back. It just hammers home the incredible value of simply starting.
Even if you don't feel ready, even if it's imperfect.
Especially then, every journey starts with step one. His story is this beautiful reminder that our willingness to be a little vulnerable, to take that first small action, can unlock worlds we never imagined and forge connections that genuinely change who we are.
A powerful thought to end on for Sammy's specific story. Hashtag tag outro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we followed Sammy through this incredible arc from, that shy beginner, maybe genuinely scared of English.
To a confident club leader, and even an international speaker in his own way. It's just such a clear example of how consistent effort, daring to take that first step, and importantly, embracing mistakes as part of the process, how powerful that can be.
Growth fueled by genuine connection. It shows language learning is deeply human.
Definitely not just academic.
And that lasting message from A Letter from Afar. The core insight from this whole deep dive seems really clear now, doesn't it? Every word you learn, every mistake you make, every sentence you struggle to write or speak.
They're not just exercises.
Not at all. They're the building blocks. They're pieces of your story, a story that can reach so much further than you might think, connecting you to people, places, opportunities you haven't even conceived of yet.
Language as a key to unlock. Well, almost anything.
Global citizenship, personal liberation. It's a powerful tool.
And as we hear Sammy's story continues, he's apparently facing job interviews in English now. It really does make you wonder, doesn't it? What unexpected doors could swing open for you? When you decide to embrace that learning journey, whether it's language or something else that feels a bit daunting right now, what new letters from afar, real letters maybe, or just metaphorical invitations, new chances are out there waiting.
Waiting to connect you to a world you haven't dreamed of.
Exactly. So the message seems clear. Keep learning, keep speaking, keep trying, see where your words, your curiosity, and yeah, your courage might take you.
Well said.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.